yourself whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Hello? No, oh God. Hi, I'm Andy. I play competitive 40k. I'm vice captain for Team Wales, and I'm going to be answering your questions today. Yes. Yeah, okay. Really good question, that one. There is luck, dice rolls obviously. The way that it's player skill is your list building. So like what you take, what you're thinking about suits your play style and how you're going to use it. Like you could be I'm a board control player, I would say, so I like to have a lot of stuff and a lot of things to throw around and do actions, and essentially I like to stop my opponent from doing stuff. And it's where you put those models. So your tape measure is your best friend, right? You move 6 inches, you can advance. So yes, that's the random element, but you think about, as long as you deploy your model in the right place, think about what secondaries you could draw. You know, you cut the averages down with the decisions you make. So you're narrowing that randomness. If you don't do that, the skill will show, right? So a top level player would be thinking of those things, and then someone starting the game would just put their models in an area and maybe be a bit lucky with how they've done it. But it shines through in model placement, I would say, and the decision making. So you've got certain guns on your profiles, like a knight, for example. So you've got a strength 8, AP1, damage 2 gun. Oh, that's quite good at killing Space Marines. You wouldn't shoot it at a tank when there's a unit of Space Marines nearby. You'd shoot the strength 16 gun that can damage the tank. So how you divide your shooting up, target priority, that is. Essentially, yes, there's still a lot of decisions to make that are not dice rolls. The list is important. I would say, I don't know about a percentage, it's very hard. You can still win with a bad list, so the list is smaller for sure. I think maybe 70-30. There's it's interesting challenges that you could sort of put at like your local club. If you say you have this one player that's better than most people, you get well, no comment. You get like certain ways to challenge that person and to make it a bit more interesting for everyone else, rather than obviously practicing and trying to improve the player skill of everyone. You could make everyone else write a list for them and see what they do with it, right? It's like, well, can you win with 40 drones, or something like that, The first three are, so UKTC is United Kingdom Tournament Circuit, I want to say. And that is just an organisation that they are the biggest organisation in the UK. They run the biggest events. So you'll have your Leicester GT that happened recently, London GT, the ITTs, so that stands for International Team Tournament. They run 4 of them a year. So they're the organisation that runs those events, the major events in the UK. That's also, you'll be used for terrain. So UKTC terrain, they have their own terrain set. It's good or bad, depends what people think, but yeah. WTC is the World Team Championships, so that's a bit closer to me, that is. Obviously I represent Team Wales, so I use that format a lot, but they're also an organisation. They run the World Team Championships, and they have their own terrain as well. Yeah, there are. So there's, it's just changed in what it used to be. So the ITC used to be, every time LVO comes around, that's the end of the season. That's now changed, although they've moved the date for LVO towards just before World Championships, so it's almost the same. But GW's taken over the ITC, and they do their rankings. The season starts from the World Championships to the World Championships, and then you attend events. The bigger the event and the better you do at that event, the more ranking points you score. It's all recorded on Best Coast pairings. Yeah. There is actually. I know so ITC used to give away thousands actually for the winner. I think they used to give 5,000 away, I want to say was the last time I saw a big check. I'm not sure what they've done in the last few years, but it very much drops off a cliff when you're not the winner So there's money in it, but it's not like your esports, Fortnite winning 10 million or something, Yeah. It's difficult, actually. So the more money that comes in, because this is very much a collaborative game, so you need to work with your opponent, it's frowned upon to gotcha people, and there are a lot of ways that somebody could, unfortunately, cheat at playing 40k. And inadvertently cheat as well, because it's, models get knocked, you're using a tape measure, it's not perfect. It is a skill game. I stand by that. It's very much a skill game. There's dice involved. It can be random. You can sometimes, very rarely, point at a game that you've lost because of randomness. But yeah, I think if you compare it to like football or other, even esports or other games, you've got to be intelligent and you've got to be skilled to do something like this. So I don't see why there shouldn't be more money in it. It's got to be very careful, because of the more money you put into it, the more refs you've got to have, the more it's got to be regulated, maybe is the best word. Essentially, you have a team, so it depends on the size of teams. There's a lot of team events out there. The WTC is 8-man teams. That's not common though, because getting 80 of your friends together is a bit harder, right? So the UKTC's ITTs a lot of people go to them. So they're 5-man teams. So fives is the more regular number you'll see. And essentially, a team of 5 can be made up of any amount of factions, but you can't duplicate a faction twice. So if you take, say, Chaos Space Marines, actually my army that I'm playing at the moment, Chaos Space Marines at the minute, and I take an allied Chaos Knight and some demons, that means that nobody else in my team could take Chaos Knights or demons. So there's an element of, trying to build your composition, should we say, for the team. And then the way that every round will work for teams, so you'll usually have a deck of cards with your armies on. So you'll have Chaos Knights, Ultramarines, whatever your team is, you'll have 5 cards. You both put one of those cards face down in front of each other. And then once you both put them down, you reveal them. So you're like, okay, I put Ultramarines down and my opponent's put Chaos Knights. So we look at what we have left and we go, what 2 do we want to offer into them? And then you put them face down, your opponent does the same. Reveal them, both decide what we're playing, and that would be the first pairing. And then you have a roll off for dice, for table picks. So sometimes this is the extra level. There could be a light table, a heavy table, or mediums. WTC is not quite like that. UKTC is. So UKTC, you have a light board. It's obviously light. And then the heavy board, they'll put like an extra terrain piece in or something like that. Essentially, yeah, you then pick the board. So that's that pairing decided. They go away and play on that board. The rejected from the 2 cards that you put down goes back into your hand, and then you do that again. So you put down 1 card, your opposing team offers 2, but then it's a difference. So it gets a bit different towards the end, because obviously you've only got 3 left. So reject into your hand. Oh God, this is complicated now. It might be best not to explain the full process actually, but you have your 5 cards and you're pairing off to try and get a favourable matchup, should we say. So say you've got Chaos Knights is a very good example of it. The competitive list is triple despoiler with triple Gatling cannons or double Gatling cannons. So if you're on a light board against Chaos Knights, you're in trouble. So they would go down first, depending on what your opponent's team has, unless they've got a direct hard or 2 direct hard counters. You put them down first, you say, whatever you offer me, I'll reject my bad matchup and I'll take the other one that's good, and then I'll just shoot you while you're on a light board. So there's a lot of layers to teams, yeah. And in the pairings, so it's not just I've turned up to a game, I'll play. Here's the mission, here's the deployment, and here's singles. There is layers to it, and it's once you get into it, it is the best way to play 40k. I think it's really good fun. Yeah, so it is a bit weird. The captain, there's limits on what you can say. So obviously you can have a laugh and a joke between your games, right? You shouldn't be stopped to do that, but you can't help. So once you're in your game, you're supposed to, right, I'm playing my opponent. Nobody else can help me with that game on my team, even though they're like right next to me, playing on the table next to me. But your captain there's more communication they can have. They can't give you advice, and when they come over to talk, your opponent's got to hear what they're saying. It depends on the formats actually. So WTC has a stringent set of rules on how coaches and captains can be used, because you can also sometimes have coaches. Depends how serious you want to take it, right? Nationally, teams very much take it seriously. So yeah, I could say, like, I'm the captain, I could ask my player, like, okay, what score do you think you're going to get? Which there's a differential for WTC, so they'll give me a 0 to 20 score. Before the game, you might have had a matrix, so I'm like, right, well, I was expecting a 12 off you, but I've come back to you on turn 3, it looked a bit bad. What do you think you're going to get? And they might correct it and be like, oh yeah, I've scored low, I think I'm going to get an 8 now. I need to see how this goes, and the captain can take that information away then and be like, okay, I know this table, I need to go to the next one, and like, you're very much working out the overall score. So in teams, you have 5 games, 0 to 20 from every game, so 100 points on offer. Tournaments will have different win sort of limits. So say I think 5 mans is 55. So if you win every game 11-9, you win the round. So the captain's doing the maths in their head basically for every game on top of playing their game. It's what is good right now in simple terms. So what armies are doing the best, what things you need to be aware of. So if you're building in singles, if you're building your list, you're like, okay, what are the good armies I need to be able to deal with? Right now, I guess it would be Victrix Guard. So how do I kill 6 Victrix Guard? And how do I deal with the reactive move and some things like that? And that's one army. Then there's usually about 5 or 6 that you have to really pay attention to. Maybe 1 or 2 that you over the top need to pay attention to. I think Victrix Guard certainly falls into that bracket right now. And essentially that's the meta, yeah. So if you ignore the meta, you're ignoring trying to play against those armies, and you're just you're doing your own thing. Whereas if you're paying attention to it, you've built counters into your list to try and deal with Victrix Guard either you counter them or you join them, essentially. That's the. Than casual? Yeah. I would say so, yeah, definitely.
How?
It depends on the army you're playing. So you're on your detachment, so you'll look at that detachment and go, what units are best in that detachment? Usually you'll take 3, depending on how they fit. Combos and things like that. So you have a look at the suite of stratagems you've got. You'll have a look at your detachment rule, obviously your army rule. And you go, okay, these things in my army, these things are good, and then in this detachment, these other things are good. So I'll put them together to see how they work. You've obviously you'll consider scoring secondaries. So you need units that want to do actions. Fast units is always a good thing for killing secondaries and for doing actions. So you consider the mission. You consider the meta, and I guess the terrain. The terrain's a big one. What terrain you're playing in. So if it's WTC, UKTC, yeah. There's still, so some of the fatigue is a big one at the end of some of the longer events. Fatigue's huge. How you slept, right? Decision making still matters, but obviously those guys at the top of their level, they would more than likely not make mistakes. You'll still see maybe 1, maybe 2, to be fair. But focus on. I don't think the big games get decided massively by dice. I don't think so. I think there are still armies is a huge factor. So at the very top level, you'll find the World Championships is a really good one. That's happened recently. So AdMech playing against Eldar. Those 2 armies are obviously ridiculously good, or were ridiculously good. One is definitely not anymore. They have certain units and certain things in the game that are, there'll be play styles and how that matchup works. And I think the best players they'll know that matchup. They'll have played that matchup 50, 60 times probably, maybe even more. And dice will come into it a bit more, so it'll be, it depends on depends on the matchup, but the AdMech game, essentially it's going to be, can the Eldar kill this many toughness 4 bodies while they've got a 5 at Fear No Pain? But, like Siegler did when he was playing in that game, he still had to put those units in the right place, he had a game plan. It changes based on going first and second, that's very big as well actually, depending on the mission. It can have a big impact. Your mindset for playing first has got to be totally different to going second in certain games. I think the bigger understanding your opponent's army is a really big one. So some deployment errors are really huge. They can actually make quite a big difference. I would say top players still do it. I still do it. Definitely I still do it. My deployment needs to improve. And the fatigue side of it as well. So if you're not used to going to events, you'll drop off because the decision making, you'll be a bit tired, right? When you're early hours in the morning, oh, I'm not awake, I need a cup of tea, you deploy your stuff and you like start the game, it's too late, oh, I've just drawn a card, I needed this model 2 inches closer to be able to score that. It's those sort of things, not considering secondaries from deployment. Honestly, like repetition and just thinking more about the game as a whole. So if you go over your deployment, a really good tool obviously is Tabletop Simulator. If you go over your deployment, I hate it by the way. But
my next 2 questions at the moment.
oh really? Do you want me to? I can.
No, you go.
But yes, it's minor things to be fair. So when it happens, and I think the biggest thing for a mid-level player is to make sure that you notice those things. And your opponent won't necessarily in a tournament point them out, and you know they don't have to, and they shouldn't really, I guess, because they're thinking about their game. Yeah, the little consider your secondaries. That's probably a big one. Like when you deploy, I don't think many people would really think, oh, I put this unit here because of containment stick in my head as a card. It's not in the deck anymore, but I need to be near this board edge to score a point, or I need to stage or things like that. But deployment is a big one. If you don't really put a little bit extra time into it and consider, you know, it'll lose you the game, right? Because turn 1, your opponent's considered it. They've drawn, random cards as well, of course, but they've drawn one of the cards that they considered, and they're able to do it. And you did the same, but you didn't consider it. They score 5 points, you score 0. That's a big deal, and they add up over time, right? Just positioning mistakes. The big one, consider your secondaries when you start a game, because they're things you can do right from the off. Consider your secondaries, consider your staging points, and then the next step, think about what your opponent can do and how that'll affect the first step. Very. If you want to get to the top level, very, very important, yeah. So teams is a really good example of this. So there's matrices, like everyone's made up a spreadsheet. They're all different, like loads of people have got different spreadsheets. But essentially you'll put a score down into a matchup. So you need to know what, so let's say Grey Knights as an example, right? They're limited units. Purifiers, okay, they're probably gonna have a lot of purifiers. So how am I good how do I deal with purifiers? What would I take in my army to deal with it? And then you'll have an idea of what you would score into it. So understanding your opponent's army is one of the most important things in the game.
Awesome.
The top level, so Tabletop Simulator is used an awful lot. I'm probably not a good example of one of those players because I find Tabletop Simulator not fun to use. It's not 40k. This is 40. I want to play on the table. I want to interact with my opponent. I'm lucky enough to have a lot of time to be able to do it. So I try and get real life games in. I play 2 games. I play 3 or 4 times a week essentially. But that's in real. Tabletop Simulator I do not play a lot. I think when I go into the new year I'm going to play a lot more. So the top level guys, as an example. The Guard Detachment came out on, I want to say last Thursday, and by the weekend, 12 games played, one of the guys. Yeah, that's a national level player that. So they play a lot. They do play a lot. Some of them, I mean, it's not to criticise them, but they've got the time to be able to play in the day, which is, I don't. But yeah, so they'll get, I mean, hundreds of games. Going into WTC, like France won the World Champs. Those guys would have had hundreds, maybe even into the thousands of, yeah. Well, the lists come out, say, 3 weeks before. They'd have had double figures of games into that list. That's the very top teams, I would say, though. Like, they put the amount of time and effort to win the World Championships is monumental, it's massive. And then it tiers down based on, you know, what people can do. At the end of the day, real life definitely gets in the way. Like, I think I play more than most, and I don't play Monday to Wednesday at all. Sometimes I don't play on the weekends, you know, so it's, yeah. But the top level players will play thousands of games. It's crazy. Yeah. A little bit. So whoops. What was the question again?
Different mindset.
Different mindset. Yeah. So it depends on the player's mindset, I would say, more than anything. So for me, I've played both ways. I very much used to enjoy doing campaigns, and I've run my own campaign in the past. I've only played competitively now. I'm very much in, my time is limited, so I have to put it into practice competitively. I would say my practice games, I play them as if I would play a competitive game, just a little bit more like pointing stuff out, not being as ruthless, I guess. But then still having that WTC approach of, I'm not going to gotcha you, I'm not going to catch you out. I think, for me personally, a casual game to a competitive game, there is a very narrow gap. So casually, I would think, well, I'm not going to bring 18 Victrix Guard or something. I'm not going to absolutely ruin my opponent's day. You've probably got to think more about how they're going to enjoy the game. But I also, when I'm playing a competitive game, have that in mind as well. So I never am there just to ruin my opponent's day, and just, I'm there to win the game, and I'm there to make right decisions, but I'm not just going to bully them and be like, haha, they died, or oh, that's dead, you know. You're still playing a game with someone for 3 hours. So I don't think there's a huge difference, actually. And if there is a huge difference, you're probably playing the game wrong, or your approach to a competitive game is probably wrong. I like to vent, I'll be honest. I have a good moan. Yeah, it depends on the situation. So dice is always the big one, right? You can have really bad dice that very much, and they do decide your games sometimes. My biggest one with that is, in the game, I try and, it's hard to do, but I try and follow through a full dice roll. So you can have, I was speaking to someone else about this recently actually. You could roll like 20 shots to hit, and you're like, oh, I've missed 2. And then you roll to wound and it flips. Or you have 3 dice rolls, the first 2 were amazing, but because the last one was so bad, it ended average. And knowing that end result can make you just, oh, I shouldn't be tilted here because that was right. You know, like that sort of thing. Try and keep the dice out of it and just focus on the things that you can impact, which is a good life advice, actually. So you can only change the decisions you make. You can't change a dice roll, so why get frustrated by it? I think that's what you will still get frustrated by it, 100%, especially if it keeps happening in a game. But if you can keep telling yourself to be like, right, okay, you know, F you for that, get on with it, but then this is my next choice, right? Move on to your next choice. Try and, I'll have a good way of explaining how I deal with it a bit, actually. So I'd say I'll have, my game against Geraint was a good example of this. I'll go through a bunch of units and I'll be like, right, I've got it in my head of how my army's going to play, because target priority is still an important thing to do in your game. So this unit's going to shoot there, that unit's going to shoot there. So okay, I know where the stuff's going. The dice have just gone horribly wrong on those first 2 units. I'm like, I still need to shoot these and I still need to put them in the right place. As it's going through and as the dice are going against me, I'm obviously getting a little bit more like, it's coming to the point where this guy's going to live. And then when he lives, I might let it out a little bit. But which I did in that game. And but you've just got to take yourself out of it and just go, well, that's happened. What's my game state now? Move on. Take a minute if you need to, have a drink, have something to eat. Like however you deal with it, it's very important you don't get annoyed at your opponent because they're just rolling dice. It's not their fault entirely. They're still trying to have a fun game, right? They're not just because they've rolled, a lot of saves or they've got a bit lucky. They don't have to apologise to you. They don't have to, they're there to play against you. So you just think about your opponent, I would say, is a good one. If you're a good person, you don't want to upset them. There's quite a few factors. So reps is one of them. To get to the very top level, you need to have a lot of time to be able to do this because it is one of those skills that you can learn. I really think most people, you'll have a skill ceiling depending on, how intelligent or loads of different factors, but I would say most people in the game, if they dedicate enough time to it and if they've got the understanding of the game, can be one of the best players. It just, reps is huge. Yeah, reps is huge. Understanding armies is a big one, like how much you can take in. Asking the right questions in games, though, offsets that a bit. You just need to know the key things to ask because everyone should have the right approach and not try to gotcha you. Difficult question, this one for me, actually, because it's silly, to be honest. It is silly. So there are bad competitive players that and human nature is to focus on a negative interaction. So if there are any, they'll be focused on. Yeah, certain individuals, those negative people in the community that genuinely do give people bad games and give the competitive community, I suppose, a bit of a bad name, get highlighted, and you won't get the opposite. So the guys that are good, most of the games I play are very much, I have a really good game and they're against complete strangers. I'm getting to know a lot. I know a lot more people than someone new to the hobby would, but I still meet new people and I still have great games against them. The casual players, I don't want to label it. I can't speak for them, but maybe, in my opinion, I'll say that, they look at those negative experiences that get put on the internet on videos and talked about the most and go, well, that is what competitive 40k is. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And that's why you'll see a lot of competitive players, and even guys that are new and going to tournaments, they'll say, well, you should go to tournaments, you should go and play, You will have bad experiences because it's a collaborative game a little bit where you need to work together. And at the end of the day, if someone does have a bad night's sleep, they're going to be a bit grumpy. And you might not have the best experience, but most people you'll play will have a really good attitude. They're very much thinking about their opponent and making sure they have a good game. And the higher you go the higher level you go, the more you'll find those guys that you'll have the better games. So the better players have been I'm not saying I'm a better player, but I've been around a while. So I know that, I can't just hiss everyone off I'm playing. I need to get along with people and I need to play the game in a certain way. Deployment. Yeah. It's the first thing you do. And obviously building your list, but the advice I would give to someone building a list as a new player can very much, you can just go around in circles because you don't actually necessarily know what's competitive and what's the good stuff. If you watch videos and listen to your competitive streams and things like that, you'll find out some stuff. But my advice to someone new is just take someone's list and play that and practice your deployment. Because you don't have to worry then about, down the line, of course, you want to think, well, I want to play this unit, so I'd like to squeeze that in, and you'll do it. But actually, as a good starting point, missions, deployment, secondaries. Those core things. Ooh. I actually really like the social side, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I do this because the friends I've made along the way. I'm a competitive person, like massively. Everyone who meets me will know that. And I like to challenge myself against someone. So like, you know, looking at a situation, yes. But actually, I really like just talking 40k with someone even. Like I play the game a lot, but I also go on Discord and things like that to chat to my friends about Warhammer. And I've made so many friends in 40k that I wouldn't have. I think it's one of the better communities for it as well. Like you can bring anyone from any walk of life. Like you could do anything. The amount of different jobs that people do that play 40k is actually wild. Just wargaming for that matter as well. It's not just 40k. So the social side for me for sure. My primary answer is I don't know, because there's many different ways it could go actually. The Art of War are trying to drive into the esports community, and I wouldn't say they're failing. I think it's 40k is massively growing. There's a lot more people playing it, enjoying it. The UKTC scene has obviously grown it really massively in the UK. There's a chance that we somewhat crack esports. It's not really watchable yet. Like we need to find a way to try and make, because it's a 3-hour game of he's just rolled some dice over there, or you like condensing it looks a lot better. Watching a live game's hard. Yeah, StarCraft would be a really good one. That's a fast-paced game. It is very good to watch because you're watching quick things happen quickly. Game can take 5 minutes, game can take 30 minutes max. That is, yeah, whereas 40k doesn't have that. I don't know if maybe they can change the rules to speed the game up. I do like that you can take lots of models as well though. So yeah, I think guaranteed, well, not guaranteed. This depends on if there's a soft restart to 11th and the game doesn't change too much and we just see the releases how they're doing it, I would say it'll grow how it's been growing. We'll have more players than we've ever had before. Well, whether you want to play competitive or casual is a big one as well. If you want to play casual, yes, pick the army that you like the look of. But I think if you're thinking, well, I'd like to also enjoy playing the game, just some key questions. So do you like to play, do you want to run at people or do you want to shoot people? Just some key little questions. Ask yourself that going, oh, what am I sort of interested in? You'll have to obviously ask someone who knows a bit about the game. Or am I trying to do a bit of both? Do I want a bit of combat? Do I want a bit of shooting? What kind of things do you want to do in the game? And then you can certainly narrow down the options. So like if you want to do combat, for instance, some of the Chaos factions will probably be quite good for you. Maybe not Tau. I don't think anyone should ever play Tau. Ever.
Video end.